welcome back. This story, and it's one that's close to Jonathan's heart. Android without the mothership. So this is very much using a spin of Android, which is Linux in a certain sense, but doing it without having to connect up to the Google Cloud services. So there are many reasons for doing this, and Jonathan certainly has probably more of philosophical reasons than a lot of people would. But there are quite sane practical reasons, like older Android phones that can't be updated don't have access to a lot of systems. Like there's old Google Maps apps that rely on APIs that Google just doesn't provide anymore. So if you've got an older Android product, a lot of services you just simply can't use. So you kind of you are forced to divorce yourself from the Google Cloud for that.
That's very much a trade-off between time and money, because if you have an older phone that doesn't work, you have the option of doing a lot of work to get that phone working, or you could buy a new phone, which for a lot of people will be easier. I think the main reason to do this is philosophical rather than to try and preserve old hardware or keep old hardware being useful.
For sure.
That said, this is something I've been considering doing myself. I don't trust the cloud as much as I used to. Reading this article was very much preaching to the choir for me. It's a good overview. I've already read a lot of this stuff elsewhere, and it wasn't a lot of new information to me.
Yeah.
So aside from the philosophical, here's why you might want to try to run Android without Google, which is to say because you don't trust Google. The main information here was, here's the particular apps you can use to replace these services. You can be using OpenStreetMap to replace Google Maps. You can be using OpenCloud to replace, managing your contacts list, and so on and so forth. I think the main message is, if you've been thinking about doing this, we want you to know that it's an option. And there is reasonable open source replacements for all of the services that you would get from Google. They're not all as polished.
Sure, but on the other hand, there are some commercial services, which was a little bit news to me, for doing some of these things, for helping out with doing some of these things. Which, I think pre-NSA, that probably wasn't a thing. I'm guessing some of these things were post-NSA.
I'm a little bit surprised that there is commercial services for some of this, because to me the main reason for doing this is philosophical, at which point if you're moving away from Google, it wouldn't make sense to move to some other service. You would want to move to,
right,
I own all of my own data.
Yep. Yeah, but how?
But it is a lot of work to set up, and you do have to put time into it.
You've got to trust somebody at a certain stage. Like you've got to trust your hosting provider. You've got to trust, or your VMS supplier.
You do have the option of just turning your phone off. Okay, Clinton doesn't have that option. I could probably get away with it.
Try organising a conference.
I'm not organising a conference.
Yeah. Which one's the clever one? So I think, this story certainly seemed to have... it had a lot of responses. I think this probably had the most responses of any article in this week's edition. And there was a lot of details in those comments about particular apps and things like that.
I didn't take the time to look through the comments. I only read the article. Was there any important announcement?
There were a number of apps and things, and a number of different ways doing it. Like there were a few alternatives to Kmail, which is the mail app that I've certainly heard Jonathan bitch and moan about.
I have used Kmail and found that it's not nearly as polished as the Gmail app. It's functional, but it's not great, and if any of the other alternatives to it raise the bar a little bit, it doesn't have to get far, I think, to become a really good alternative to using the Gmail app. So I think there's
certain.
Okay, something.
Wow. Apologise for that interruption in service, folks.
Brought to you by UQ Building Management.
Yeah, we look better in the dark anyway.
That's why we wear black t-shirts.
So yeah, it was a good article. It's really clear that Jonathan has a stake in this. Like, he really wants to go down this route. So I think we're going to continue to see more and more articles about this stuff from him.
Yeah,
it is his newspaper after all. All right, thanks very much.